So please visit the village's website at maywood-il.gov for more information on these and other community-based events. Mayor, that concludes all of the announcements.
Thank you. Trustee Brandon?
Yes, I want to add to the announcements. I want to give condolences to the Butler family with the passing of Pioneer Butler's brother. The funeral services will be held this Friday at Miracle Revival Church. I believe it's from 6 to 11, 11 to 12. But just wanted to give condolences to the entire Butler and her family for the passing of her brother.
Thank you. All right, 5, we need approval of minutes for committee of the whole, special board meeting, and the public hearing fiscal year 23-24 budget of the Board of Trustees on Tuesday, March 14, 2023. Need a motion?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Trustee Brandon. Can I get a second? Second by Trustee Reyes-Plummer. Are there any questions? Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez.
I abstain.
Trustee Reyes-Plummer.
Aye.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot. Trustee Peppers.
Aye.
Trustee Brandon.
Aye.
Mayor Booker.
Here. Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, 7, we need a motion to go into recess and public hearing. So for a 45-day extension on temporary 180-day moratorium regarding the location, development, installation, construction, licensing, and operation of new barbershops, hair salons, nail shops, live music permits, pop-up retail stores, special event space, tobacco shops, and fast food restaurants in the village of Maywood. New expiration moratorium effective expiration date of July 19, 2023. Need a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Trustee Reyes-Plummer, second by Trustee Sanchez. Are there any questions? Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez.
Aye.
Trustee Reyes-Plummer.
Aye.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot.
Aye.
Trustee Peppers.
Aye.
Trustee Brandon.
Aye.
Mayor Booker.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right. We are going to open up the special meeting. And please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez.
Here.
Trustee Reyes-Plummer.
Here.
Trustee Jones.
Here.
Trustee Lightfoot.
Here.
Trustee Peppers.
Here.
Trustee Brandon.
Here.
Mayor Booker.
Here.
Quorum present.
All right, so we're just acknowledging that this public hearing notice was published in our newspaper. So we're not looking at the presentation. We're talking about a presentation regarding the proposed 45-day extension of the temporary 180-day moratorium on the locations, development and installation, construction, licensing, and operation of new barbershops, hair salons, nail shops, live music permits, pop-up retail stores, special event space, tobacco shops, and fast food restaurants in the village of Maywood. Is really just saying that they've been working on all of the ordinance changes. The policies are coming up on Monday, April 24th. There's a special community meeting. Well, the draft will be gone over start to finish. Once that community meeting draft is gone over start to finish, then residents will be able to give their feedback into it. Edits and updates will be made. Then it'll go to the Ordinance and Policy Committee. Then it'll come before the board for committee as a whole discussion and then be able to vote on it. And it's just saying at this time we just need 45 more days to finish all of those meetings that are taking place. Are there any questions or comments from board members?
Mayor.
Trustee Sanchez, then Trustee Brandon.
Is the ordinance meeting on the 24th or the 25th?
I have it on my calendar for the 24th. Director Smith.
It's for April 25th is the public hearing.
Oh, this is my calendar.
I believe it's
April 24th is your policy and ordinance committee.
So it'll be back-to-back nights.
So, okay. So the Ordinance and Policy Committee meeting is April 24th, and then the public hearing is April 25th on Tuesday at 6 o'clock. And then it goes before the Plan Commission after that.
That is it.
That's the 25th.
That's all right.
Okay, I've got a lot of meetings on. Okay, so 24th, Ordinance and Policy Committee.
Yes.
25th with Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing. And then be brought back to the board in April as a final draft to be voted on in May.
Well,
So
it'll be brought back to the board May 16th.
So yeah, and then the final vote would be June. Well, technically, we talk about the date of the 13th to be the 20th. But we'll work on that.
Quick question.
Trustee?
If we were to move our meeting till after the hearing, which could possibly be that
To
Wednesday.
get the resident feedback.
Correct.
That's your choice.
Okay.
All right. Trustee Brandon.
Yeah, so again, I definitely will be voting no for the extension. I don't thought the 180 days was too long. I would have hoped that this process would have been wrapped up in less than the days that were requested, and that's what the feedback we received back from staff as it relates to how long this whole process was going to take to begin with. And I voted no then, and my no will be consistent this evening for those very reasons that I believe it's taken too long of a process to, do something I think we could have been doing, while we were still allowing folks to, open up shop or open up business. I think it sends a wrong message as it relates to business being open in Maywood. My question to staff is, if you have folks coming in, and this is for the Economic Development Department, if you have people coming in looking to open up business or looking to do business here in the village of Maywood, how are we keeping a track of those individuals? What are we telling them as well? And then how are we, keeping them engaged during this whole process? So those are my questions to staff in regards to the folks who are coming in, wanting and asking to do business with the village of Maywood, and how, what are we doing? So those are my questions, and those are the reasons why we will be voting no this evening as it relates to the 45-day extension.
One response I would give you, Trustee Brandon, is keep in mind we're looking at just a 45-day extension, so we're not looking for another 6 months. If you were to let it expire without moratoriums in phase, if 10 smoke shops came in with an application right now, there will be absolutely no ordinance in place to stop them. If 15 different special pop-up storefront locations came in, there's absolutely nothing on paper to stop them. No different than tobacco shops. At the end of the day, this has been a lengthy process that I thank staff for taking on, because we're literally looking at ordinances that are 50, 60 years old, right? So as they're reviewing things and adding things on, to ask for 45 days more, as they have been the ones doing the work, they have been the ones having the public community meetings, planning and zoning committee and commission that have been meeting, they're the ones that are in these meetings 3 and 4 hours at a time, going over these ordinances, not us. So for them to ask for just 45 more days, for them to do the work that we're just simply voting on, is not the craziest thing to ask for. I understand we want to make sure that businesses are being opened, but we also need to keep in mind that we are updating very old ordinances, and to just allow the moratorium to expire in the middle of the process opens up Pandora's box, because you do have businesses that community development has been in continuous conversation for, that are waiting for these ordinances to go into place. So to reopen it without those ordinances in place kind of just opens up that Pandora's box until everything is finalized and approved. But to answer your questions that you have for staff,
Please.
Director Smith, if you wanted to just give a quick synopsis.
So there has been a log of those businesses. So there has been a log of those businesses.
Yes, sir.
What's on?
And so we're taking those businesses one by one. We do have a log of those businesses that are, that have come forward. We do have record of businesses that are, waiting for licensing. Remember, we're dealing with this on the zoning side, and we're also regulating on the village code side. So those are two different, regulations that have to be kind of melded together in a sense. The zoning has to be put in place, which, that's where we are now. And then the village regulation has to be put in place. So those are two different, regulations.
All All right, thank you,
I
Director
have
Smith.
a question.
Trustee Peppers?
Yeah, three-part question. Why do we need the extra 45 days, and what's the direction of our strategic planning in those 45 days in our accomplished tasks?
So as the mayor laid out the time frame, so the zoning piece will be going before PZZBA, which is your plan commission. And once it goes through the plan commission on April 25th, then it will be ready for the board, for the board review for the May 16th meeting. So those two processes. Then what will happen is after the board, reviews it, and if there's any changes and things like that comes from the board, staff works with the attorney to make sure that all of those zoning changes through like the findings of fact and your comments and recommendations are put into a document, and then we start working on that village code side. So the attorneys they can't work on the village regulations really without that zoning piece being decided.
Mayor? Trustee
oh,
Sanchez?
sorry.
Oh, go ahead. You say,
Yeah, when you say finding of facts, are we utilizing analytics?
No, the findings or facts are what comes out of PCZBA. Those are the findings of facts. The attorneys go through it, make sure that we are in line as far as zoning regulation, and then it's able to be sent to the board for your recommendations.
And what could possibly be a hiccup to ask for another 45 days after this?
None, because the zoning piece will definitely be done. The village code regulation is merely staff working with the attorneys to just go through and make sure that the regulations, whether it be number of licenses, things of those, sorts, in the village code.
Well, I definitely understand that, certain businesses that we call are in violation and doing their own thing. But what about the ones that are reputable and, represent our community well? Is it going to hinder them?
No, existing businesses won't be hindered by this. If most of the zoning regulations that are being put forth, businesses will be grandfathered in.
Trustee Sanchez?
Can you also add or explain the part of the committee, the planning and zoning committee, and how frequent they meet, or what obstacles they are as far as all of the board members showing up? Can you add to that?
So we've been courting our PCZBA meeting. We've been in contact with them more than regularly, in order to check quorum and all of those things. So I don't think that we're going to have an issue with our public hearing. The plan commissioners have been working on this. They know that this is coming. We've been in discussion with them. So I don't foresee any issues with establishing a quorum.
Mayor,
Trustee Jones?
so I have two questions that I want to make a comment at the end. My first question is, can you walk us through what was accomplished in terms of this moratorium in the first 90 days, and then what was accomplished in the first 180 days? And then what within that process kind of fell through or we didn't do in order to get this extension? That's my first question. Then my second question is, in terms of whether it be regional or Village of Maywood business owners or agencies that work with businesses, how much are they engaged in this discussion? Because part of where I would get buy-in from is to hear from them, like, hey, we feel like this would benefit the community, like the current business owners, the people that are interested, developers, I want to hear from them because, you know, we might not be the experts, and likely we aren't the experts, you know, whether they're on the board or, you know, but they might be. So I guess, you know, that part about the timeline, can you walk us through kind of what's been accomplished, what are some of the successes that you've achieved, and then the next question about who have we engaged from the business community, regionally and locally, in terms of their buy-in or critique to this moratorium?
So the moratorium has been going through the PCZBA, and we had workshops with the Plan Commission, and then we also had a Let's Talk Maywood where we invited that group out. All of the businesses, developers, and things like that have been involved in the village. Remember that the zoning piece of this is about land use, not necessarily economic development, right? We're talking about how land is used. Now, and we're talking about how land is used for the health and safety of the residents of Maywood. So we brought on a zoning consultant who was responsible for the writing of our first zoning change, our 2010 zoning change or zoning update, where we updated the code from the 1958 to 2010. We brought on that same group, that same company, Camaros, to bring us through this moratorium, bring in the expertise of land use planning for this particular moratorium. So before you, last week, the draft zoning ordinance has been in the clerk's office for public viewing. That document is complete for public viewing. The zoning piece ready to go before your plan commission. So the goal has been accomplished, and we got the public hearing document. We need to take it through the steps in order to get the ordinance before this body.
Okay. I want to finish with a comment. So thank you for that. Maybe I can get a list of maybe some of the, if you remember, or if we took an attendance of who some of those businesses were that attended that Let's Talk Maywood event. I don't think I was able to attend, but I'd love to hear the feedback. But
It's online.
okay, perfect. I'll check it out. I will say based on your explanation and what a moratorium is, if this is really a land usage exercise, I think the language of it is wrong. I think it needs to be stated as a land usage exercise versus moratorium or economic development type of movements or things that you do, because it affects economics really well. So I think the language of it needs to be changed to say that. And I also think in terms of the moratorium, big picture, when I kind of understood why we picked some of these industries, at the time, there was just a lot of conversation. There's been conversation throughout the community. We have too many barbershops, too many liquor stores, et cetera. And so I understood the nature of it, but I think we need to have a little bit more information from those industries and then other industries on how it complements each other. And I like to hear from them directly. So that's why I'm not going to support it. The other thing is, as far as like that zoning piece, if we are taking a complete look at the village in general, I think every commercial retail village-owned space needs to be looked at. There's non-for-profits and main corridors in our community. I've heard that inside. I didn't hear those organizations getting brought up. So if we're really going to look at it and be fair, every organization, whether you're a non-for-profit or a religious organization, whether you're a liquor store, whatever, everybody should get looked at, because the whole point is to set us up for success moving forward. So all those moving parts need to be added. So if we're going to do it, just don't pick on the folks that are actually here in our community or looking to move into our community. For folks that have, so far, we haven't been able to get into, I think you bring them to the table and say this is a zoning exercise for us to best map it out. I think moratorium is the wrong language. I think to the business community and our brand, it sends the wrong message that we're not open for business. I think with certain businesses, although they might not have been called out, why they could be in the future. If they're not engaged in the conversation earlier and understanding, kind of understanding the premise. I didn't really understand the premise until you really broke it down. So if this is going to be a zoning initiative that's presented to us, I think we should consider changing the language. I don't agree that a moratorium, so I guess I understand the idea that, because, and maybe I don't know where this exactly is happening in the community, but, are we going to be telling businesses that they need to move now to this area of the community because, here's where we've designated these places to go, or they're already grandfathered in? If that's the case, I'd rather take an already grandfathered in community as we're moving forward than have a moratorium. That's just my stance on it. I just want the community to know that. But I would consider changing the language of, I think moratorium is too harsh. It isn't even the focus of it. The focus is really on a zoning planning thing. I think that should be the language. I think we should take the moratorium out of it. I think we should include every single parcel of the community if we're really looking at a big picture and, really have all those partners in place if that's what we're doing. So that's my comment.
So let me just say, the reason that the moratorium exists is because we're creating ordinance and policy and zoning and policy that without it being activated, you would still have people applying for things that we're trying to change or regulate. Again, the moratorium stops the ability for 10 smoke shops to put in an application right now. So the language moratorium is needed to do just that, stop things from happening while the work is being done.
Is that like happening right now? Like, are there 10
So let's be
be
crystal clear. So to answer that question for you, the first time that Trustee Reyes-Plummer presented the moratorium idea, you guys said no. Within the next 45 days, there were 2 smoke shops open that weren't regulated. Like, that really literally happened. The first time she presented it, they did not exist. You guys voted no, they were open.
They're not
So they don't know. They're not. They're just open as a retail
That has
space.
nothing to do with
But it does, though. So, Trustee, think about it
I don't
this way.
support non-regulated business.
You did, though, by voting no. Because we were voting for the moratorium to make it not happen. You voted no, it failed, it happened. So then when it came back, the moratorium literally has stopped multiple people from turning in, simply as an example, smoke shop applications. You have had it where we said we did not want to be a community that had a bunch of storefronts as pop-up space as if they were a banquet hall. The first time it got voted down, we did have applications for storefronts to be pop-up shops. So we have that happening now, but as they're putting the ordinances in place and the policies in place, the moratorium has to exist to not allow those things to happen as we're regulating it. That is the very essence and reason of the moratorium. So when we say we want the language to change as a land use exercise, the land use exercise is happening, but the reality is you want to stop businesses from coming in to say, another case in point, not only did the 2 smoke shop opens, but they opened literally 2 blocks away from each other on Roosevelt Road. So regulation will be in place now to stop that from happening. But you have to put the moratorium in place for those applications to not still be processing and going through, because legally, without the moratorium, we have no legal right to tell them no. So currently, if 5 smoke shops came in and said, I want to be on the 100 block, 200 block, 300 block, 400 block, and 500 block of Fifth Avenue, there is no ordinance or policy in place to stop that. So it would have to get approved. The moratorium stops that from happening. And that's why the language of the moratorium is in place. Okay. The other thing I would add on is we're saying we want all of this feedback from the businesses and from the residents. Well, the planning and zoning meetings are public meetings that residents and businesses have been at. The ordinance and policy committee meetings are public meetings. The actual Let's Talk Maywood is a public meeting. So if we wanted to hear from residents and businesses for the last 6 months that this moratorium has been in place, we should have gone to those meetings. The people that are doing this work are not us. As you said, we're not the experts. But when you look at the planning and zoning board that normally might meet quarterly, might meet a month, meeting 2-3 times a month to do the work that we're not doing. And when you think about residents and business owners going to those meetings to express themselves, they don't have to come to this meeting because that's the meeting where the work is being done. So the moratorium language has to be in place to avoid things happening that we're trying to regulate, that's not currently regulated. And there have been multiple public opportunities for people to voice their opinions that everybody on this dais has had the opportunity to go to and hear from them. That's all.
Okay, I just want to respond and I'll drop it.
Yeah.
I think how you do that is, so for wherever these 5 or 6 locations that would have happened, we have their contact information. Who are these landlords? Who owns these properties? You bring them to the table, and then you allow them to, or you let them know what the idea is, and then they give you feedback. You might not even need an ordinance because everyone wants to fit in, or the idea is that business owners are all the same. We're all looking to improve the community. Everyone wins is that the community's thriving. So if you're saying, hey, here's our issue and what's going on, if they didn't get your flyer on social media, you might have to call them, you might have to email them. You know, like we have to engage. It's not like, well, we're going to do it whether we get engagement or not. If you're not getting engagement, then like that's a telltale sign. So my only response to that would be, if there's 20 smoke shops that would want to happen, or 8 banquet halls, where are you going to go? Let us know. And then now we now with those locations, whether they want to rent or they own those properties. And if that is part of the process, and if they have engaged, say, yeah, we're all for it, that's great. I would just love to, hear from them as well. Have them have something in writing that, or that has happened.
I'm going to interrupt you. It's my time.
If those owners are there, I haven't heard it. I just haven't heard from the community. Hey, this is an issue, and we're supporting this moratorium. That's my last comment.
April 25th, there's another public hearing meeting that is multiple meetings, again, that you've missed for that the public could express themselves.
So,
Trustee Reyes-Palmer.
Really quickly, sorry. Just as Trustee Sanchez mentioned, this was a rough start, correct, Angela? Like to get the commissioners to be on board and to actually come to meetings and actually,
Right, coming from Planning and Development Committee, who asked for this to be put in place so that the work could be done. Yes, I mean, it was asked at least 3 meetings before coming to the board with the board direction to move forward on a moratorium in order for the work to be done.
Correct. So with that being said, again, as the mayor said, we put a hold on it just so the work can be done. The work can be completed. So basically, it's like doing a study on an animal and the animal just keeps moving and you have no way to track it, right? So if you're steady letting people come in and just go wherever they need to, we can't track that. We can't say, okay, we need to put this moratorium, or we need to just fix the ordinance and not have a set stone moratorium in place. So it was really to regulate and to monitor the zoning and the population of these businesses. So that's basically where we're at now. My next question to you, Angela, is that if, for instance, the ordinance are done before 45 days, are we able to?
Absolutely.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that, that was still on the table, that if it's done within the 45 days, we can go ahead and just proceed as normal. So that's all I need.
Because we're still proceeding as if this extension doesn't exist.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I mean, the thing that we just need to keep in mind as a board is we meet once a month. So if it's not that we're going to vote on it May 16th, then that goes into June, which is why the moratorium is being asked to extend. Because at least even if we have feedback that we're saying we want to see this change, we want to see this change, that May meeting then gives the opportunity to come back with the final meeting in June to vote on. So that's why the 45 days is needed as well. Just want to put that out there. But thank you,
Thank you.
Director Smith. Questions from the public or any public comment?
I have a question.
Wait a minute. With questions from public or public comment, then we come back to you. All right, so hearing none, we have again for the public who wants to go to a meeting. Oh, you got one? Sure.
Yes, I have a question as regards to, the development of businesses. So I've been in the process of communicating with you guys. I wasn't aware of like all of the other meetings. I was told specific meetings similar to tonight. So I wasn't aware that, we were supposed to attend the other public hearings. As far as finding out more information as far as the delay or the extension, how does that affect? We've already submitted a business license application a while ago. It was approved, but we don't want to invest in something and start to build out, and then the moratorium actually comes in and say, no, you can't do it here or whatever. So how does that work for businesses that have already been in communication with the
Yeah, so I would say for using your business as an example,
Yeah.
you've been working directly with the Building Community Development Department. So, realistically, the ordinance for your specific business is being written to curtail to you.
Okay.
It's regards to your suite concept, there's no ordinance or policy in place for it. So it's literally being created to benefit, to make sure that you're thriving and good, right? So no different than the way that we're focused on, we know that Exclusive Lounge wants a hookah spot that we've already agreed to, that we understand that that's what they're doing. So the ordinance that we're now putting in place in regards to hookah is to make sure that we're a good business partner to them. No different than the cigar lounge that's coming on first. There's no policy currently in place, but we're making sure that the policies that are being put in place are a good business partner as a community to them. So the ordinances for the three examples I just gave, it's not to hinder you in any type of way. It's just to make sure that three more don't open right around the corner from you. It's to make sure that there is a policy in place, because there isn't a current one that would even make it where your concept can be approved right now. So that's literally what we're trying to do. It's not to hurt any business. Any active business that's open, none of the ordinances affect them changes. But literally, some of the ordinances like yours that are being created are literally to allow to have the ability to approve you, because right now there is nothing to approve you on. So that's the example. Like, it's not to be combative at all. It's to make it where it exists.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Excuse me, I have a question. What kind of business are you looking to open?
So it's myself and then also my business partner, Shannon Chandler. She's a resident of Maywood. I grew up in Maywood, went to Proviso East, but the business concept we're looking at is pretty much providing suites or incubators for personal care, small business entrepreneurs. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with like suites that are located in Oak Park, Forest Park. They have one that just opened in Hillside. So you would be able to go there, and the services that are being provided are small business entrepreneurs who provide like lash tech, massage therapists, mani-pedi, microblading, things of that nature.
Yep. Yeah, it's to make sure you can open.
Okay.
Not to keep you from
Okay.
opening. Like that's the goal. It's someone like, and it came from your business, another business, like, that sounds like a really good idea, but we don't have a policy to actually approve you to open. Like, that's the whole thing that we're trying to do. But as we're putting that policy in place, we don't want it to be where you were at a public meeting like the last meeting we had, where you gave your whole concept. And now, if we didn't have the moratorium in place, 4 other applications would have came right behind yours. And I'm like, well, we didn't have a moratorium in place, and they applied for it. So that's what we're trying to avoid.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Mayor, I have a question.
Did Trustee Pepper say?
Go ahead.
Man, I'm trying to really grab the concept of 45 days. Do we need assistance?
It's not the assistance that's needed, it's the thought process of our meetings. So we meet May 16th. That's when we as a board are saying, okay, all of the community meetings have taken place. Planning and zoning is done. Ordinance and policy is done. This is what you guys want us to all vote on. Now, if on May 16th, nobody on this board has a single thing that they want to change, which that would be lovely, but I don't think that that's going to happen, then we'll vote on them on May 16th. But if there's some, I got a question about this, can we change that? We need to look at this. Then that has to go back, be redrafted, and the final vote happens in June. That's what the 45 days is for. It's not saying that the work hasn't been done already. It's to say, to get to the final product, we as a board have to vote on it, and if everybody's fine on May 16th, we'll vote on it. If there are other, the drafts can be reviewed prior to, and board trustees can attend meetings and voice their thought processes, and they can email and question staff prior to the meeting, not just waiting for their board packet. But May 16th would be the ideal board date to vote on it. But if any changes need to happen, it needs to go back, and then we vote on it in June. So super goal, next board meeting, May 16th.
Mayor?
Realistic thought process, just based on this, June. Trustee Jones had one, then Trustee Sanchez.
Pop-up retail shop. I don't quite know what that is. What is that?
So when I was saying pop-up retail shop, think about the example of the banquet hall that ended up opening over there on the 900 block of 5th under the gold building next to PLCCA. She had it as a banquet space, but then she would also rent it out as pop-up retail shop of people, like 8 different vendors having an event going on at one time, where instead of you actually having one banquet and a storefront, you're having 8 different tables as if you're like a flea market, if you will. So that's an example of a pop-up shop.
And that's not similar to what this young lady.
Oh, not at all. No. So this one is more so, her concept is more so similar to, instead of you being a barber shop having booth rent at a chair, you actually have an enclosed space that is your little operating space to operate in. You have a door and a lock, and this is your business, and your suite occupying this space. But there's 12 other suites in that space that are occupying it at the same time. So I can be the tattoo artist that has a tattoo room, but the other 11 people that are in that building have nothing to do with my business. I could be the woman who braids hair in my room, but I have absolutely nothing to do with what those other businesses are. But it's all the self-care spa of suites. Okay. So then I need an 8 motion to recommend approval of, I'm sorry, Trustee Sanchez.
All I was going to say is that at the end of the day, our individual opinions of the moratorium will just be that. We also need to be cognizant of the fact that the time constraints. These committees needed a jump start to have everyone involved. They needed a jump start to have all of the commissioners that belong to the committee. Okay, let's get the ball rolling. The time constraints, I know that our staff is working diligently on the changing of the ordinances or even creating new ordinances. If our staff is saying that all they need is 45 days, that's it. I don't want to be here after the 45th, on the 46th day, trying to vote for another extension. I also want to be everyone on the same page so that we can all rest assured that, they're like you asked the question, Trustee Peppers, is there anything that will hinder it? And the answer was no. So whether we believe or disbelieve on the actual moratorium, we also have to be cognizant of all the integral parts that are moving, that they don't have control, that the committees don't have control, that at the end of the day, let's just get it done, because after the 45th day, there is not going to be a 46th. And it goes for both us and for the staff. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you. All right, with that said, I need a motion to recommend the approval of the 45-day extension of the temporary 180-day moratorium regarding the location, development, installation, construction, licensing, and operation of new barbershops, hair salons, nail shops, live music, permits, pop-up retail stores, special event space, tobacco shops, and fast food restaurants in the village of Maywood.
Motion to recommend?
Motion.
I'll second that.
Second to Trustee Sanchez. First motion by Trustee Reyes-Plummer. Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez,
Aye.
Trustee Reyes Plummer.
Aye.
Trustee Jones.
No.
Trustee Lightfoot. Trustee Pepper.
No.
Trustee Brandon.
No.
Mayor Booker.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Motion to close the public hearing and return to April 18th Committee of the Whole Special Board Meeting.
Motion to close.
Motion by Trustee Reyes Plummer. Need a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Brandon. Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez.
Aye.
Trustee Reyes Plummer.
Aye.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot. Trustee Peppers.
Aye.
Trustee Brandon.
Aye.
Mayor Booker.
Aye.
Motion carried. The time is 7:44.
All right, returning back to Committee of the Whole. Can we please call the roll?
Trustee Sanchez.
Here.
Trustee Reyes Plummer.
Here.
Trustee Jones.
Here.
Trustee Lightfoot.
Here.
Trustee Peppers.
Here.
Trustee Brandon.
Here.
Mayor Booker.
Here.
One present.
All right. 9, Finance Management Reports, Financial Analysis for the end of the month ending on March 31st, 2023. Financial report in the amount of $2,805,264.93. C warrant list -200536 dated through April 12th, 2023 in the amount of $2,092,398.78. Does anyone have any questions for our Finance Director, Ms. Satchel? Thank you, Director Satchel.
We're not on the warrant list, are we? I had a question because of the warrant list.
Trustee Brandon?
The following numbers are 108,955. Beyond Chicago's Dreams. Do you know what that is?
So, Dion Chicago Dreams is the organization that's working with the Career and Life Readiness Initiative that gives provided food to the children at the 200 building.
So are these monies being paid out of the grant?
That 2,000. Yeah, he's talking about the $2,000. The $2,000 did go to providing food to the youth that are within the grant under the food line. It wasn't for an event or anything. It was literally to provide the food. The money went directly to food supply.
So, wait. One second. So my question again is for Dion's. Wait, so I'm on a warrant list, right? Are you on the warrant list? Ryan?
But if you're asking about Dion Chicago Dreams, that's the only thing that we did with them. So that's why I'm answering it, because it's literally the only thing we did. They provided food. So we haven't done anything else with Dion Chicago Dreams.
What letter are you referring to?
I can see it's
Which?
Are we on a warrant list?
Yeah, I'm on the warrant list.
I'm on a warrant list, and I'm talking about again.
Okay, I'm with you.
Okay. That's 108,955, and the question that I asked is about the Beyond Chicago's Dream. It's showing that it's a nonprofit organization. I just want more information on that.
No, that's the new one, that's the old one. So yes, as the mayor indicated, we have worked with them to provide some of the meals for the youth that are included in the Master Year grant.
This organization is based out of where?
I don't recall the address that we got to check to.
They're based out of the city. Their location is at the city of Chicago. They operate out of a YMCA location that the YMCA doesn't fully utilize the rest of their facility. So like their walk-in kitchen and all of that facility is inside of a YMCA.
And that's the produce box. So they, yeah.
The one that they brought to the village every week.
Produce, bananas, vegetables, a variety of fruits and vegetables.
Oh, okay. Okay.
If you're looking for the address, it's 6235 South Holman Avenue is where their central base location is. But Dion, as a nonprofit organization, already provides food and resources to residents throughout the Chicagoland area, and they service and provide food on a weekly basis to residents here in the village of Maywood.
So are we talking about like warm food or?
No, it's all fresh produce. So nothing canned, nothing dry. It's fresh produce. So
Okay,
vegetables and fruits.
And they have brought some to the village hall too. Before we got off the ground with the matching program, they brought them to the village hall for us to sample, what that would look like. So we received them as well.
Okay, so I can move on to the next item. I can just research it. 108956, District 89 Close-Up Foundation.
So what was the dollar amount of that? Just because I don't have that warrant list, but is that the $6,000?
It's the youth that went
Yeah,
to the
so
Washington.
essentially before we got funding for the grant, we had already been approved, but there were a few more hurdles to go through. We started the program. So that cohort had already worked through their time frame, I think it was 3 weeks or so. So we didn't have the grant in hand, and we did not, pay it out of our corporate funds. So another organization, the one that you mentioned there, paid for those students, and then we reimbursed once we got our grant funds. Because they kept moving the date. So they told us we would get it on this date. So we started the program based on that date, and it didn't happen. So that's what happened.
Okay. Okay, so the next one is, so we reimbursed an organization who paid for something on the Village of Maywood's behalf because we hadn't received a grant yet.
Hadn't received the funding. The grant was awarded. We just had not received the funding in our bank account.
Okay, and all right, just write some notes down on mine. Okay, so the next one is 108961 Maywood Park District Women's Day program.
So that, I believe, there were several, may have been a table or several of our either employees, trustees, or a group of women who wanted to attend. For example, I attended last year, but I didn't get the opportunity to attend this year. So they had an event, and we, those who signed up this year attended. I'm not sure what the agenda was this year, but last year it had to do with women's health, so it was like a women's day.
And this came out of whose line item?
I believe the community engagement director scheduled it and reached out to the various employees to see, who would be able to attend, and it would have come out of that line item.
Okay.
That's a community engagement event.
Okay, the next one that I have is 109006. Linda Johnson. I'm seeing like multiple names come up for a Black History Month program that I don't recall us having. So,
Which page are you on?
and so that was, and then I have a Stephanie Johnson. That number is 109009, and it lists by the person's name Black History Month program.
So those actually should have come out of MAPS
Those are the coordinators.
Junior. I think maybe initially, and I'm glad you brought that to my attention, it's showing out of corporate. It should be a separate account number for it, and it may, I don't have the document you're looking at, but it should start with a 22. So that shouldn't be an 01 expenditure, if so, you need to reclass it. But those are the coordinators, and that was one of the activities that we did during that cohort.
Yeah, the kids go on a weekly field trip. So those are the two. Linda and Stephanie are two of the coordinators that go on the weekly field trips with the kids. So every week they go on a field trip.
So these monies are coming out of the grant?
Yes.
Okay, so if they were just listed under...
If it's listed under 01, anything with an 01, it shouldn't be. The grant fund for the MAPS begins with 22. And because I don't have the document, but I'm aware of every expenditure, so I really don't need it.
Okay, yeah, it's listed under 01.
Yeah, so that would be reclassed and moved over to 22. And that's probably Tanika wasn't clear, or Stephanie, I think, who does their accounting, didn't have the right account numbers initially.
Okay, because I see Stephanie is program coordinator
Yep.
under this grant.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, when I was going through it,
much.
Thank you, Director Satchel. All right, we are going to 10, Village President's Report. So there are 3 different line items. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, man.
Trustee Jones?
What's the last one didn't have an attachment? It was,
It's on omnibus agenda under 16, I think. Under 16, I think it was like But ultimately, to give you a quick synopsis, in working with an organization called the Safer Foundation that's been around since the 1950s, they have a program in the city of Chicago where they have those that have been incarcerated and re-entering the workforce, where they work with the Public Works Department of the city of Chicago and provide free services. So they go trash cleanup, trash pickup, they'll mow lawns, they'll clean alleyways, they'll clean commercial corridors. During big events and big festivals, they're the cleanup and they're the cleanup crew that cleans up after the event is over and while the event's going on. What the Safer Foundation is offering are 10 workers, 3 days out of the week, so 24 hours out of the week, where our building and code and facilities and lands team would give them areas that we want them to focus on, and then their team with their supervisor would come out and clean it up over the weekend. So say, for instance, if we're saying, hey, every weekend we want you guys along the expressway from 1st to 21st to clean up all the trash, they come and do it for us for free. If we say, hey, every weekend we want you guys to walk through our commercial corridors and pick up all the trash, they come and they do it for free. The employees are paid, let's say like $15.40 an hour, but this is the Safer Foundation got a larger grant, and the Village of Maywood is the city that they're doing as a pilot program for suburban activity versus just City of Chicago activity. And it is completely free to the Village of Maywood.
nice.
It is amazing. God is good.
Yes, he is.
All right. Public comment. Do you have any public comment?
One public comment. Gloria Clay.
Good evening, Board. I have a question, and I guess I want to make a statement. My question is on 5th Avenue where the old grocery store is. What's going on there? It's a bunch of trucks and stuff in there.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm just and also, in conjunction with trying to keep our village as clean as possible, election is over, and I would appreciate, and I'm sure some of the homeowners would too, those of you that ran for office, you know what, when you're dressed and asked to put signs up, please take them down. It's time for them to come down now. The next election is not the 24th, so this just makes the town look even more crowded, more dirty. So just please take the election signs down. The election is over. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to answer your question, it's the Chicago Fire is again here in the Village of Maywood doing filming. All right. 12, Village Manager's Report. All of the items on the Village Manager reports on the omnibus agenda. Does anybody have any questions in regards to one of the items?
Yes, I have a question to the report that was sent from the village manager, which I did have the opportunity to review. I had a conversation with the village manager in regards to the matter. He thought that, this forum or platform would be a good place to have the conversation. And so one of the things that I did not see in the report, but what I am requesting this evening, if I can get a report in writing, Jim, as it relates to the current process of where we're at in regards to our agreement with the Maywood Park District. And so I know I've been asking this question for a long time. I heard something to come from the attorney in regards to where it was at. But at this particular juncture, I'm asking something in writing as it relates to where we're at with the agreement with the Maywood Park District as it relates to transferring over the parks that we are grossly behind on doing. And so we've had a lot of conversations Actually, since 2006, there have been a lot of conversations as it relates to the transfer of those parks, and we came to an agreement as to what that will look like a few years ago, and there is no solid plan, there's no solid update on where we're at as it relates to turning over the parks and doing what we said that we were going to do as a board and what we had agreed to in our agreement with the park district as it relates to our give, which was the up to $100,000 per phase in phase 1 and phase 2, and we are not even finished with phase 1 or 2, and we're just well behind. So what I'm asking for at this particular juncture, because the community want to know as well, where we're at in writing as it relates to the Maywood Park District and transferring over the parks.
Thank you, Trustee. Like I say, it's the May 16th board meeting. The Maywood Park District will be doing a full presentation on park designs, where they are, where we are with the transfers, and what's to come in regards to park and recreation overall. So that report and that presentation and those agreements will be on the May 16th board packet. Did anyone have any other questions? All right, hearing none. 13, Village Attorney Report. Does anyone have any questions for Attorney Jarusic in regards to the items that are on the report? All right, hearing none, we'll go to Attorney Jarusic.
Under my report, there is a item D. It relates to the economic incentive agreement. I received comments from Developers Council. And I spoke to the Developers Council and the developer today. That'll come back to you on the May 16th meeting. There's still a little bit of work going back and forth. Dollars aren't going to change, but some of the economic terms and are going to be need to be refined a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to deal with that this week. We'll send it off to Planning and Development Committee because things are supposed to go to committee first before coming to the board. Then the committee can get a presentation from the developer, review the agreement at that time. So late April, early May, Planning and Development Committee would get the final version of the economic incentive agreement. Then the committee can recommend it to the board for the May 16th meeting, at which time we're ready for final action.
Thank you. All right. Oh, I put that under the new business of this the date. So, sure, we can do that now. So, Village Board turnover of oath of office on April 4th, 2023, municipal elections. So, the cover memo from KTJ, which indicates that per our ordinance, even though we voted to change to once a month meetings, our ordinance still says that the appointments happens at the second meeting of the month. So, by our ordinance of local, we do need to have a special meeting for appointment instead of doing it at the May 16th meeting. And that's simply because when we changed our ordinance to meeting schedule, we didn't change the ordinance of when the actual swear-ins would occur. So the question was, is everybody available May 30th, which is the last Tuesday of the month? And it was literally just be a meeting for swearing.
Wait. So normally isn't it the second meeting of the month?
So we only have the one meeting, which is May 16th. So we have to establish a second meeting. So that's why I'm asking. We have our standard meeting from May 16th, which is the one meeting. We need to establish a second date for a swearing by ordinance. So we're just saying, does May 30th work for everyone?
Well, I was expecting May 10th, but if I can switch something around, like Trustee Jones.
We can change the date. It's literally 4 years, Trustee Jones. Just swearing. So
this is why we need to change ordinances.
So we got to update that ordinance. But I mean, if you're out of town on the 30th,
I can get from Trustee Jones.
I mean, that works out great. I was actually going to say I won't be here on the 16th. I'll get away. So it's actually
So May 30th.
May 30th works.
does May 30th 30th work for everyone to do just come in for swearing?
Yes.
All right. Hearing nobody opposed, we'll do May 30th. I had that under new business. Okay. 14, trustee committee reports. There is one committee report in regards to updating ordinances, which is on this agenda. Does anybody have any questions in regards to that one? Hearing none. 16 on this agenda items. I need a motion to approve on this agenda items with the exception of pulling X. X and U.
I want to make sure I don't know on the I want to pull the one with the.
This is what we're pulling you to make it a special.
With the moratorium.
Okay. So we're taking out X and pulling you to do it as a second part. Pulling item U because that's the moratorium vote that we clearly just voted on before, that didn't unanimously go through. And then we're pulling X altogether to wait for the final at the next board meeting. So I need a motion to approve.
A motion to approve.
Trustee Jones, I need a second.
Second.
Second by Trustee Sanchez.
That was you.
UX.
A, motion to approve the monthly financial report in the amount of $2,805,264.93. B, motion to approve the warrant list number 20536 dated through April 12, 2023 in the amount of $2,092,398.79. C, motion to approve and authorize expenditure of village general corporate funds for payment of police department gun range maintenance and cleaning proposal dated September 15, 2022 from Best Technologies of Plainfield, Illinois in the amount of $5,110. D, motion to approve and authorize expenditure of village general corporate funds for payment of quotation dated 3/24/2023 from Air One Equipment Incorporated of South Elgin, Illinois in the amount of $6,336 for grain gear for public works employees. E, motion to waive the competitive bid process and approve and authorize expenditure of village general corporate funds in the amount not to exceed $31,950 for the purchase and installation of Ethernet wiring for 30 Madison Street, 200 South 5th Avenue building, police station, fire station number 1, number 2, with direction to the village manager to use one or both contractors, Captain Incorporated and Proven IT to do the work. F, motion to approve and authorize expenditure of village general corporate funds for purchase of a generator from Penco Electric Incorporated of Niles, Illinois in the amount of $11,397.19 for installation and use of Maywood Village Department Station number 2. G, motion to reject all bid proposal purchase 16 photocopiers from Kanaka Minota and that are part of the village's current Kanaka Minota photocopier lease program and waive the competitive bidding process and authorize the village manager to solicit and negotiate proposals for a lease agreement for 3 high-volume photocopier service agreements for e-fax and file storage platforms and maintenance agreement for purchase photocopiers, printers for village board approval. H, motion to approve and authorize expenditure of village general corporate funds for renewal of employee health and benefits insurance plan at a variable cost of $4,021,359 and property and casualty comprehensive liability insurance coverage, workers' compensation insurance coverage, and excess liability insurance at a premium cost in an amount not to exceed $1,366,750 per village insurance broker's report dated April 2023. I, resolution authorizing and approving the execution of a low bid response and construction agreement between the Village of Maywood and Schroeder Asphalt Services Incorporated in the amount of $324,125.80 to complete the 2023 CDBG roadway improvements project and authorize the expenditure of Community Development Block Grant Program funds in Village General corporate funds to pay for the construction work. J, resolution authorizing and approving the execution of a low bid response, an agreement between the Village of Maywood and Denver Incorporated in the amount of $25,050 to complete the 2023 crack filling program and authorize the expenditure of Village General Corporate Funds to pay for the work. K, resolution authorizing and approving the execution of a low bid response, an agreement between the Village of Maywood and Homer Tree Care Incorporated in the amount of $63,000 to complete the 2023 tree removal program and authorizing the expenditure of Village General Corporate Funds to pay for the work. L, resolution authorizing and approving the execution of a low bid response, an agreement between the Village of Maywood and Schroeder Asphalt Services Incorporated in the amount of $61,101.50 to complete the 2023 asphalt pavement patching program and authorizing the expenditure of Village General Corporate Funds to pay for the work. M, resolution authorizing and approving the payment request of Maywood Public Library District for its share of the state personal property replacement taxes in the amount of $270,718.72 relative to allocations for year 2021, August, October, and December, year 2022, January, March, April, May, July, August, October, and December, and year 2023, January, March. And resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an updated Exhibit A mitigation rates for structure and vehicle fire incidents through services agreement with Fire Recovery USA. O, resolution authorizing a waiver of the competitive bid process for the purchase of one new Vector combination sewer cleaner truck with an international chassis and approving and authorizing the execution of a purchase lease agreement with tax exempt lease corporate in the amount of $568,940 for the purchase, construction, and delivery of the Vector combination sewer cleaner truck. P, resolution approving the first amendment to redevelopment agreement for sale and redevelopment of real property commonly known as 1000 South 19th Avenue pursuant to the Maywood Tax Reactivation Program. Q, resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a memorandum of understanding with Safer Foundation relative to the Road Home Grant Austin program to operate the Village of Maywood Clean City Crew program. R, ordinance authorizing the approval and execution of a low bid response and construction agreement with Schroeder Asphalt Services Incorporated for the completion of the 2022 roadway improvements project, contract B, and the appropriation expenditure of Madison Street / Fifth Avenue TIF District funds to pay for the project. Projected cost $805,058.50. Project locations, portions of 4th Avenue from Washington Boulevard to Oak. S, ordinance authorizing the approval and execution of a low bid response and agreement with Competitive Construction Solutions for sewer cleaning and televising services relative to the 2023 sewer cleaning and televising project and the appropriation and expenditure of Madison Street / Fifth Avenue TIF District funds and Village General Corporate Funds to pay for the project. Project cost $75,297. Project description, cleaning and televising of combined sewers. T, ordinance approving the fiscal year 2023-2024 Village of Maywood budget. Not reading off to you. V, ordinance authorizing the approval and execution of a low bid response and a construction agreement with M&J Asphalt Paving Company Incorporated for completion of the 2023 concrete pavement patching program and the appropriation and expenditure of Madison Street, Fifth Avenue TIF District funds and Village General Corporate Funds to pay for the work. Project costs $108,207.20. Project description, concrete street pavement patching work throughout Village. W, ordinance amending Title 9, General Regulations, Chapter 99, towing of vehicles of the Maywood Village Code to add a new section, 99-27, dumping of garbage upon real property, impoundment, and to revise Chapter 92, Health and Sanitation Nuances, Section 28, Garbage and Refuse regarding impoundment of vehicles used to commit the offense of dumping of garbage upon real property. X, I'm skipping over.
All right. Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez.
Aye.
Trustee Reyes Palmer.
Aye.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot.
Aye.
Trustee Peppers.
Aye.
Trustee Brandon.
Aye.
Mayor Hooper.
need a motion to approve ordinance approving a 45-day extension to temporary 108-day moratorium regarding the location, development, installation, construction, licensing, and operation of new barbershops, hair salons, nail shops, live music permits, pop-up retail stores, special event spaces, tobacco shops, and fast food restaurants in the village of Maywood. Moratorium expiration date set to be July 19, 2023. I need a motion to approve.
Motion?
Motion by trustee Reyes-Palmer. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Lightford. Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez.
Aye.
Trustee Reyes-Palmer.
Aye.
Trustee Jones.
No.
Trustee Lightfoot.
Aye.
Trustee Peppers.
No.
Trustee Brandon.
No.
Mayor Booker.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Only other thing I was going to say, new business, we were going to talk about the March 30th date, but congratulations to all of those. As of today, April 18th has officiated their vote, so congratulations to trustee Isaiah Brandon, congratulations to trustee Miguel Jones, and congratulations to incoming trustee-elect Raymond Ray Williams. We will be having that event of swear-in on May 30th at 7 o'clock, right here in the chambers. And then congratulations to all of the other elected officials that were elected during the April 4th, 2023 election. And then we'll definitely be doing a special event for our trustee Siobhan Reyes-Plummer as an acknowledgement on May 30th as well. All right. 21, I need a motion to go into closed session for pending litigation, A, and then B, probable and imminent litigation, considering the filing of property code enforcement crime public nuisance lawsuit.
Oh, here, can you skip that? Could we do this?
No, took it out.
Access taken out until May 16th.
Oh.
Motion to go into closed meeting.
Second.
Motion by trustee Brandon, second by trustee Reyes-Plummer. Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez.
Aye.
Trustee Reyes-Palmer.
Aye.
Trustee Jones.
All right.
Trustee Lightfoot. Trustee Peppers.
Aye.
Trustee Brandon.
Aye.
Mayor Booker.
Aye.
Motion carries. Time is 8:16.
Thank you, everyone. Board, if we get bring Pastor Curley up front, so we can take a picture for him giving our swearing this month. We can all come together. Take care. Everyone else, have a blessed